Well, we once again find ourselves in the midst of a Nintendo product launch. And as such, we also, unfortunately, find ourselves in the midst of a Nintendo product shortage. This time, it's the Nintendo NES Classic Edition, colloquially known as the NES Mini, which launched in North America on November 11th, 2016. Those of us who have been around for a while know that product launch shortages have been Nintendo's modus operandi since the days of the NES. But why are Nintendo product shortages such a regular occurrence? Surely Nintendo has the ability to accurately forecast demand for its products, right? Many would say yes, and are left to conclude that the product shortages are deliberate, a purposeful strategy by Nintendo intended to create a heightened sense of demand. From a business perspective, however, this theory doesn't hold water. For what is the purpose of simulating high demand if you have no intention of meeting it? Doing so does nothing to line Nintendo's pockets. In fact, the opposite is true. The frenzied demand only benefits resellers who are able to capitalize on launch excitement while Nintendo sits idly by, leaving money on the table. Second, this approach likely frustrates Nintendo's customers, who cannot find the product they seek and then simply move on. It seems a poor sort of business practice to put money in somebody else's pockets while simultaneously damaging future sales prospects. So while it's true that Nintendo is purposefully limiting supply, it's not to create hype, but rather a less dramatic and more rational business reason: efficient production. If we look at Nintendo's past, we see that quick cash-in products do not align with their business culture. Instead, longer-term strategies are apparent, and it's reasonable to think the same is true for the NES Mini. As such, we should expect that Nintendo has established the production capacity to meet the forecasts for their long-term steady-state demand. Demand that they likely hope to sustain for months and even years. Setting up massive production capacity to meet the burst of launch demand is expensive and unnecessary for Nintendo, whose products have long shelf lives. Additionally, if they had wanted to profit as much as possible from launch excitement, they could have simply raised the MSRP, which is far cheaper than increasing production. Certainly, they knew there'd be enough demand to justify it. But they did not do this. Instead, they chose a price point which they believe is in their best interest. Low enough to sustain long-term demand, high enough to maintain profitability, and stable enough that they won't have to do quick price drops, which anger early adopters and damage perceived brand value. In the end, it is clear that Nintendo has their eye on the long game and has set up production and pricing to meet these long-term goals. Certainly, there is a short-term downside to this approach, one that is felt by every Nintendo fan who couldn't get an NES Mini on launch day. But the pain is short-lived, and Nintendo has learned it has loyal fans who are quick to forgive. Nintendo has already announced that they intend to put more NES Minis on store shelves, and there's plenty of evidence to support this claim. Eventually, there will be more NES Minis to go around, enough for everybody who wants them, and for no more than MSRP. So be patient, sit tight, and don't feed the scalpers. The NES Mini contains 30-year-old classic games. They'll keep for another few months. That's the way I see it. Thanks for watching.